This week we are watching an episode of The Real Ghostbusters titled Xmas Marks the Spot.
To Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
You will be haunted by three spirits.
I think I'd rather not.
I'm Christmas present. Ho, ho, ho.
You may be a bit of undigested beef, a fragment of an underdone potato.
Scrooge is getting worse.
Bah humbug.
As I said at the top, we are watching an episode of The Real Ghostbusters. But before getting into the episode itself, I think it's worth addressing the title of the show. The Real Ghostbusters comes from a naming dispute where the original company who owned the title Ghostbusters had allowed Columbia Pictures to use the name for the movie. But once the movie did extraordinarily well, the original owners decided to reproduce a TV show under the name Ghostbusters. And so, in order to be distinguishable, this show became The Real Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters!
This episode opens on Christmas Eve with the Ghostbusters heading home from a job, already in a less than festive mood. The cold and frustration and inconvenience of working on a holiday has already set the tone, and Peter, in particular, has been called out, since Christmas truly doesn't matter to him. A perspective tied to his childhood and his father never being around during the holidays. Ray here is voiced by Frank Welker, best known as the voice of Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Right. Okay, gang.
Come on, girl. Just a little further. You can do it. Come on!
And he carries that same energy in this group dynamics. On their way back home, they get lost in a snowstorm and unknowingly pass through a plot convenience called a time slip, arriving in Victoria, London in 1837. At first, they don't fully realize it, but the setting is unmistakable. We see Bob Cratchit, we see Tiny Tim, we see them buying a pathetic-looking duck, in a very Dickensian atmosphere. Eventually, the Ghostbusters detect supernatural activity in the home of Ebenezer Scrooge. They enter and see Scrooge being confronted by three spirits. And
if there's something strange in your neighborhood, who you gonna call?
No, one, as phones weren't invented yet.
I haven't got a phone, did you say?
The problem is these are not three ordinary ghosts. They're the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, the figures responsible for Scrooge's transformation. The ghost tried to warn them, but the team ignores them and treats it like a routine job and captures them anyway. Scrooge, now freed from this experience that would have changed him, celebrates as he begins quoting lines that echo the original Dickensian text, but totally out of context.
I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy.
And he lands on the defining line,
Christmas. Bah, humbug.
when the Ghostbusters return through the present through the same plot device, there's clearly something wrong. New York still exists, but Christmas and Christmas spirit are totally gone. Decorations have vanished, people are hostiling, and every interaction is colder.
Hi, Merry Christmas.
Bah, humbug.
It quickly becomes clear what has happened. By removing the ghost, they prevent Scrooge's redemption, and he manages to reshape the world by writing a book that rejects Christmas. In order to fix this, they realize they need to return the three ghosts to their proper time. However, they've already been placed inside the containment unit and locked away with every other spirit they've ever captured. And releasing them by opening up the containment unit would mean releasing everything. So, they plan to split up. Egon stays behind, enters the containment unit to receive the three spirits in a very video game fashion. Meanwhile, Peter, Ray, and Wilson return to 1837, where they will take the ghost place and attempt to guide Scrooge themselves. And thus the Ghostbusters begin to perform a Christmas carol. Peter takes the role of the Ghost of Christmas Past, improvising an experience of childhood through a toy viewer.
Spirit, can we not stop flying now?
What do you see now?
Why, it's the school I attended.
Wilson becomes the Ghost of Christmas Present, swinging around town in order to show Scrooge the suffering of others. Ray becomes the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, and in true future fashion, he communicates not through speaking, but through a game of charades.
first syllable sounds like...
At the same time, Egon is making his way through the containment unit. Surrounded by dangerous and hostile ghosts, he makes his way to the three spirits and eventually frees them. Then Egon conveniently makes his way back to 1837 and reunites Scrooge with the three ghosts. With the timeline restored, Scrooge once again is confronted with the full experience of his past, present, and future, and is given the chance to change. Christmas is restored, and everything is undone. By the end of the episode, Peter has also had a change of heart, and the Ghost of Christmas Present makes it clear that the reason they were all brought back tonight was to experience seeing the world shaped entirely by Scrooge's unchecked bitterness in order to confront Peter about his own indifference towards the holiday. What makes this episode stand out is that it isn't a simple retelling of A Christmas Carol. It breaks it down, it shows what happens when the mechanism of the stories are removed, and what becomes of the world if you remove that lesson learning and experience and growth. And we end with the idea that if what they experienced was real, then anything is possible, including...
On Dancer! On Prancer! On Donner! On Blitzen!
Nah, couldn't be.
And on that note, we wrap up another episode of A Christmas Carol. See you next time.
Now just go. But be here all the earlier the next day.